She stood at the edge of the training field, her boots sinking slightly into the damp morning soil, the weight of her new uniform pressing on her shoulders like a reminder of where she didn't belong at least. That's what everyone around her seemed to think. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. They called her rookie, soft, civilian in uniform. But she didn't argue. She just looked straight ahead, jaw tight, eyes steady. Because she knew something they didn't. Something that would silence every whisper on that field before the week was over. Her name was Emily Carter, 22 years old. Freshly enlisted, or so they thought. The truth was, she had already seen more than half the platoon ever would. She had spent 2 years in a classified division before this reassignment, her record sealed. Her background scrubbed clean for reasons she could never discuss to them. She was just another new recruit trying to survive basic training. The sun broke through the clouds as the drill sergeant barked orders. Formation, now! The platoon scrambled into line, boots thudding against the ground. Emily moved with quiet precision, but not fast enough to escape the sneer of Corporal Davis, the unofficial bully of the group. Move it, rookie! This isn't a playground, he spat, his breath sharp with mockery. The others laughed small, cruel chuckles that stung more than any insult. Emily didn't respond. She simply adjusted her stance, straightened her posture, and fixed her eyes forward. Her silence irritated Davis even more. You got wax in your ears? He barked again. When I tell you to move, you run. She met his eyes, unflinching. Yes, Corporal. It wasn't defiance. It was calm, controlled, and somehow that calmness made her seem stronger than anyone there. The days that followed were relentless. Push-ups in the rain, 5-mile runs at dawn, obstacle courses that broke the toughest of men. Emily did every task with quiet endurance. She didn't compete, didn't complain. But when others started collapsing from exhaustion, she kept going methodical, silent, precise. By the third day, even the instructors began to notice. She completed every challenge without hesitation. No bragging, no fatigue, just quiet discipline. But the others, they still mocked her. Hey, rookie, gonna knit us some sweaters after this? You sure you didn't wander in from the library? Bet you cry in your bunk every night. Emily just smiled faintly and kept polishing her boots. They didn't understand that she had learned long ago pain was temporary, but discipline stayed forever. One evening, during hand-to-hand combat training, Sergeant Hall gathered the group. Pair up, he ordered. And this time, no pulling punches. I want to see who's ready for the field. Davis grinned and pointed at her. I'll take the rookie. A few murmurs spread through the line. No one wanted to fight Davis. He was built like a tank and twice as arrogant. Emily nodded quietly and stepped forward. The match began. Davis lunged first, his movements wild, confident. Emily dodged, fluid and controlled. He swung again. She sidestepped, calm as a whisper. Laughter rippled from the sidelines. What's she doing dancing? Someone called Dot, but then her eyes shifted. Just slightly. Davis threw another punch, faster this time. She caught his wrist midair, twisted it, and brought him to the ground in one motion. The sound of impact was sharp. Silence. Even the sergeant blinked. What just happened? Emily stepped back, releasing him. He overextended his stance, she said softly. Easy to redirect. Davis groaned, clutching his wrist. No one laughed now. That night the whispers were different. Confused, curious, but not mocking. Still, Emily stayed silent. She didn't care for recognition. She knew the real test hadn't even begun yet. The next morning, a storm rolled in gray clouds, cold rain, and the smell of mud and steel. The platoon was assigned to a navigation drill, 12 miles through uneven terrain with only a map and compass. No vehicles. No rest stops. Davis, now nursing a bruised ego, made sure she was in his squad. You might know how to flip someone, he sneered, but let's see if you can survive the woods. They set out before dawn. The rain made every step a battle. The group stumbled through slippery hills, their packs soaked and heavy. Hours passed. Visibility dropped. Tension grew by the 6th mile. One of the recruits sprained his ankle. Davis tried to keep the pace, ignoring the man's pain. But Emily stopped. "We're leaving someone behind," she said. Davis snapped. "We don't have time for weakness." Emily knelt beside the injured recruit, tearing a strip from her sleeve to wrap the swelling. "Weakness isn't in helping," she replied quietly. "It's in pretending we're alone." She fashioned a makeshift crutch from a branch and helped him up. They fell behind the others, but somehow her calm presence made the storm feel less heavy. By nightfall, only her squad reached the checkpoint without losing anyone. The other team stumbled in hours later, missing supplies, exhausted, disoriented. When the commanding officer reviewed the reports, his eyes narrowed at Emily's name. He knew it, but from where? He called her into his office that night. The room was dim, the sound of rain tapping against the windows. "Private Carter," he said slowly, "you handled yourself well today." "Thank you, sir." He studied her closely. "Tell me, where did you learn to apply field splints with that kind of efficiency?" She hesitated. "Basic first aid, sir. Don't lie to me." His tone softened. "I served overseas in Operation Shadowgate. There was a Captain Carter in that unit. Same calm under fire. Same stare. Was that you?" Emily didn't answer. He leaned back, a small smile forming. "I thought so." He stood, lowering his voice. "Your records are sealed for a reason. I won't expose you. But these recruits, they should know what kind of strength really looks like." She shook her head. "Respect isn't earned through stories, sir. It's earned through actions." The next morning, she was up before sunrise, already running drills. The others watched her differently, now some with awe, others with quiet guilt. Even Davis kept his distance, but fate wasn't done testing her. On the final day of training, the platoon was sent on a live simulation, an emergency rescue scenario in a remote area. Fog hung thick over the valley, visibility low. The objective was simple: extract a downed pilot before the opposing team intercepted. Within an hour, chaos erupted. The opposing team ambushed them from higher ground. Smoke grenades, flares, shouting all at once. Davis froze. Panic spread. Emily took command without hesitation. "Cover the ridge. 2 on flank. Move now." Her voice cut through the noise like a blade. Her commands were sharp, precise. She directed fire, coordinated movement, and within minutes, they regained control. When the fog cleared, their team had completed the objective flawlessly. The commanding officer approached, clipboard in hand. "Corporal Davis," he said, "who gave the orders out there?" Davis hesitated, his pride fading. "It was Carter, sir." The officer nodded. Noted. He turned to her. "Private Carter, report to my office after debrief." She went quietly. Inside, the officer stood by the window, sunlight streaming in. "You led a squad to victory today," he said. "That wasn't rookie instinct. That was leadership." He opened the file, sliding it across the desk. Her sealed record. "I made a few calls last night. You were a decorated officer once. Why come here pretending to be a recruit?" She looked out the window, voice barely above a whisper. "Because after what I saw in the field, I forgot what leadership meant. I wanted to start over, to remember what it felt like to earn it again." He nodded slowly. "You did more than earn it. You reminded everyone what true strength looks like." The next morning, during the final assembly, the officer called the platoon to attention. "This training cycle had its challenges," he began. "But one soldier reminded us that humility, courage, and quiet strength define a true warrior. Step forward, Private Carter." The entire field turned. Emily stepped out of line, her boots clicking against the ground. "Effective immediately," the officer announced. "Private Carter is reinstated to her true rank, Captain Emily Carter." formerly of the Shadow Division. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Gavish dropped his gaze. The same people who once mocked her now stood speechless. Emily looked at them not with pride, but with kindness. "You all fought hard," she said quietly. "The uniform doesn't make us strong. What we do for each other does." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, one by one, they saluted Dot from that day forward. Her story spread across the base, not as a tale of humiliation or revenge, but as a lesson that strength doesn't need to shout. That the quietest soldier might carry the heaviest history, and that sometimes the bravest thing a warrior can do is begin again. What did this story make you feel? Where are you watching from? Subscribe to Soul Relief Stories for more real stories that heal the heart.